Curriculum Committee. Oh, okay. Good morning. I'd like to call the Weston Board of Education Curriculum Committee meeting to order on January 7th, 2026 at 9:33 a.m. Um, I think the first thing that we need to do is the Pledge of Allegiance. So,
We actually we
no?
actually don't need to do the
Okay.
pledge for the subcommittee meetings.
Oh,
So
good.
we're off the
Okay.
hook on that one.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to look at the minutes. We have to do it separately. Different people were at the meetings. Um, I'd like to move that the curriculum committee meeting minutes for November 2025. um, to approve them. The only person who can is me because we have different people on the committee. So I second it and I approve it. The next one, um, I'd like to approve the December 2025 curriculum committee meeting minutes.
I second.
And
Oh
and
wait,
I
I'm
can I
not.
have to abstain.
I'm yeah, yeah.
You can
Do you
approve
have
it.
to abstain
I
too,
was just gonna say
Nicole?
I haven't been at a curriculum committee meeting with you yet.
Oh, okay. So I have to abstain. I wasn't there. Peter was chair and Nicole. So Peter, you have to approve it and second it.
I approve it, second it, and vote for it.
And I second it.
Wahoo. Okay. And Tina, you're on the agenda now.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first Board of Ed subcommittee meeting for the new 2026 year. As a reminder for those that are tuning in and maybe have not been here previously, the purpose of our subcommittee meeting is to collaborate between the Board of Education stakeholders and school-based leaders to discuss all aspects of curriculum, instruction, school culture, and climate within the Weston Public School System. This meeting is virtual, so we do like to remind people of norms and kind of expectations just so that we can be efficient with this 1 hour because school is running around us. So we want to make sure that we try to keep our cameras on at all times so that we can see your beautiful faces. And that if you are not speaking, we're asking that you try to keep your microphone muted to reduce any background noise because sometimes that does happen. We do ask that because we have only an hour to focus on these topics, that you be present and engaged and always seek to understand, which is to ask questions pertinent to the agenda items that are set for today. So with that said, we're going to move on to our first couple agenda items. We are joined by Nick Torres today. He is our assistant principal at the high school. We have an accelerated request for an overnight field trip. Those of you that may be new to this process on the committee, any overnight field trips come to the subcommittee, curriculum subcommittee first for review and any questions for the first version or the first round of approval, and then they go to the full board for final approval for students to participate in the overnight process. So I'm going to ask Nick to unmute and give us a brief overview of the conference that we'd like to propose and support the Model UN students and team to participate in at the end of January.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me this morning. So we have a Model UN club here at the high school. It has grown significantly over the last 5 or 6 years. I can remember it dwindling down to as few as one student for a while, and now they are in the teens. They have half a dozen, or I'm sorry, a dozen very, very strongly committed students who have become like the backbone of this club. And last year, they wanted to go to the Model UN conference at Columbia University, but we were not within the timeline for an overnight trip. So they woke up at 5 a.m. and they hoofed it to the Amtrak station or the Metro North, and they took the train in and out every day. And this year, the conference is at Harvard. So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's one of those, it's a simulated experience where teams are assigned countries and they essentially partake in a simulated UN General Assembly type of experience. They will also be able to take a walking tour of Harvard University. There are so we have some additional things, of course, planned for them too, but it's very well structured. They'll be staying at the Copley Marriott, which is right in downtown Boston, and the entire conference takes place within the Copley Marriott and the Sheraton, which are connected to each other. The hotels are attached. So they will be staying entirely within one building outside of the time that we're taking our tours and things like that. Miss Roll, the club advisor, has been working with them, and they're excited and eager to go with your blessing.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. The supplemental materials have been attached in the board book. You can see, are you seeing my screen here? So this is the kind of conference and tentative schedule that Nick was talking about. We feel that it is a very valuable experience for this team. And since that, even though the time frame is on an accelerated process to get this approved, since it all is housed in one spot, they're just taking the train from Stanford in to Boston, and they remain in the hotel for the conference for the whole time. So there's about 12 students that are going. Megan Canetta will be the administrator participating along with Renata as the chaperones that will be accompanying the students. Do you have any questions?
Tina, we may have a change of administrator.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say I would be the administrator,
Oh,
but that's
fun.
that's the only change.
Great.
Yeah.
Nick, I think this is a great trip. It is authentic. Students learn more from this than sitting in the classroom. I think it's great, and I'm glad to see 12 students are going.
Yeah, I'll ditto that, Lisa. I think Nick and Megan and I, and Renata, when we were talking about it, we really felt that it was important for us to support the students and advocate for them, even though, we typically do like to have a little bit more leeway in the approval process for overnight, but because it is within train distance, and it's a small group of students, and we have an administrator able to attend, we felt we could make it happen. So with your support, we hope that the full board will approve as well.
I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
So who hosts this? And who is the facilitator of a UN session? Did I miss that in the attachment? Okay.
So it's I believe it's through Harvard University itself, but it's HMUN, Harvard Model United Nations. So universities tend to have these Model UN conferences. So the one last year was Columbia Model UN. So it's the let's see, I'm just pulling it up right here. So they will have about 3,000 high school students. They are going to have their secretariat. So that's let me explain the secretariat. So there is a secretary general who's actually a senior at Harvard University. And there's a director general who's a junior at Harvard. So these are actual students who are kind of running but they're Model UN students as well. I would assume these were all students who did Model UN in high school as well. But as far as the facilitating of the conference, they are these Harvard University students.
Okay. Question number two
And
is
Peter, just to add to that, this is all under the auspices of the United Nations. So if you go to the UN website, you'll find that they have fully endorsed. There's a resolution that the UN provides in order to support Model UN clubs throughout the world.
excellent. I actually virtually signed a UN resolution a couple months ago on indoor air quality, but that's another story. Number two, when they return, do they present what they've learned and what they covered to anyone else? How do we learn about what they did?
It's a great question. I mean, we always have them come down to the middle school to present stuff to the middle schoolers because a lot of their social studies curriculum, especially in the 7th grade, is aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals for the United Nations. So we have found that sort of building that base of interest in the middle school is really helpful. So we usually go back to the middle school, try to share this with those students and build it up. Because it's co-curricular, it's not within a specific course itself. We didn't necessarily have a plan of having the students like present something to the school, but there's obviously we have a lot of like crossover in activities and things like that. There are opportunities for them to host like meetings and things in the library if they wanted to have roundtable conversations about their experience and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a club activity, so primarily the venue would be outside of the classroom.
But there's an opportunity for the 12 students to talk about it with other students and enlist.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The cost, I believe this is a yes. The cost is fully borne by the Board of Ed, or is there a shared cost? How's the
Nope,
cost?
the cost is, because it's an extracurricular activity, all the costs are encumbered by the students.
Fully? Oh, okay.
Yep. So this is just an approval. It is a school-sponsored event because Weston's name is attached to the team as they travel. But the cost for extracurricular is encumbered by the students and their families.
That's standard practice for
Mhm.
such events.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. All right.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. Great. Excellent questions. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. And Megan, you as well for helping accelerate the process and get the paperwork in and do all the research. Renata, if you're listening, you too. Thank you for all of the emphasis and work that you put into this prior to the break. It was a lot to put in, and the students did a lot of work as well. So we hope that the full board will see that and support them in participating in the conference this year, which is really exciting. All right, so we're going to move on to the next agenda topic, which is curriculum updates. So part of our agenda every month is we give an update on some of the happenings that are that we'd like to highlight throughout the school and the districts. So the first item is Jason Bluestein on?
I'm here, yeah.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Oh, and who do you
Morning.
have with you?
I
That's
have a couple
lovely.
people with me that are going to help me,
Oh,
actually.
That's so exciting. Okay, so we are really excited to have Jason and some representatives from the middle school today talking about the progress that they've made with the No Place for Hate initiative that they've been that's been evolving this year, and we're really excited to kind of hear how things are going. And I'm going to pull up the slide deck that you guys put together for us, and I'll give you the mic.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here. I have some guests with me from our steering committee. I'm going to let them introduce themselves when we get to their slides. I have our coordinator, and I have a couple of students here as well. But I'm going to get us started. If you go to the next slide. Okay, so last time we spoke, we kind of laid out a timeline for the year. We had done our pledge week in September, and then we had talked a little bit about, at the last time I spoke to you, we hadn't yet done our first activity, which is what we're going to talk to you a little bit about today. And our goal, we'll talk a little at the end about our next activity, but this is basically the timeline for the year. And right now we're going to be preparing for activity 2, but I'll talk about that at the end. If you could go to the next slide. Yep. This is also, Tina, this is slides from the last slideshow. So I don't know if you just added those in, but these are things that we talked about last time, just as a reminder. So we did our pledge week, September 15th through the 19th. We had assemblies that were planned and led by students. And the pledges were created during Connect Advisory, and we posted all of those pledges. And that's the actual pledge itself. You can go on to the next slide. Is this you checking? Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is last. I'm sorry if we put
Yeah, it
maybe
looks like the last one.
hold on a second. I'll pull up the PDF that's in,
Yeah. We
let's do.
put together a new one, unless you added these slides onto the new one.
Let's see. Sorry, give me 1 second.
I'll share it with you just a sec.
Oh, goodness. Hold on.
You should have gotten it.
Yep, this looks like the right one.
Can you see? What do you see?
Yeah, we can see it. If you want to, I can see it. If you want to make it a little larger and then just scroll through it, we can. We have
Great. I don't know,
our
because
own
it's in
copy.
PDF form. Okay, so
Yeah.
activity 1, right?
Yep.
You talked about that in the beginning?
Yep. So the last time I spoke with the committee, we were planning for activity 1, and that work happened in late October and into early November. Um, One thing differently that we did this time is we introduced the whole activity to staff at a faculty meeting. We did that on Thursday, November 13th, and we actually had students do that. So they were the ones that talked the staff a little bit about like what we were going to do. They talked them through the actual activity itself. Um, the actual activity happened on Wednesday, November 19th. It happened during an extended Connect advisory period. And we started with identity. I'm going to let students in a minute talk a little bit about what we actually did, but we started with this idea of identity. We had some conversations with our coordinator from the ADL, and they really thought that really identity was an important starting point before you could get into. But before we could really think about understanding and accepting each other, we sort of had to define each other and sort of talk a little bit about ourselves and be vulnerable that way. So that's kind of why we started with this whole idea of identity. Okay, so I'm now going to turn it over. Leo's going to get us started. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. I'll let him introduce himself, and he's going to talk through the next 2 slides. If you can see him.
Hi, my name's Leo. So we decided to use multi-grade groups so instead of being with your normal Connect class, you had a new teacher and you had kids from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in your group. We thought this would be better so you could hear the perspective of other kids, not just from your age group, but from people all over the school and how they feel about how their identity is represented in their grade.
Next slide.
Yeah, next slide. So what we did was the identity iceberg. It's an activity that's made by the ADL, and what you do is you look at an iceberg. What can and you filled out this worksheet about yourself, and you would say, above the waterline, what can people tell about you? What can they by just looking at you? At the waterline, things people might know about you but aren't that special to you, or things that really are important about your identity. And below the waterline, things that people don't see, your personality, your fears, your race, your just aspects of your life that you'd have to tell people and they couldn't figure out just from talking to you.
Good.
Yeah.
And Leo created the actual iceberg that you see there as well. So he put that together. And it's Leo Wolfson. He's an 8th grader.
Okay. I'm Abby, and in order to get all of the students, oh, you can go to the next slide. In order to get all of the students familiar with the activity, we had all of the teachers play the slideshow of Eva's story from the ADL website. And then Eva's story was an example. It ran through what one might share at each level of the iceberg. And then we had the students answer the questions, asking kind of like how Eva felt, like people treated her, and like kind of we asked students to identify what she shared about her background. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Then in the small groups, we had the 8th grade students read out the discussion questions once the icebergs were all filled out. The first 4 are just to get people sharing about their iceberg. And then the 5th one, which is what's next? How can we make sure everyone at WMS feels seen? That is supposed to get kids like an idea of what we're going to do after this. And students had to the small groups each wrote their answer to that question on a sticky note. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, guys. And that was Abby Delani, who's also an 8th grader. So we did the activity itself, and we learned a lot. We learned some things from students and some of their feedback in terms of what do they feel like we need to do next. And we also learned a little bit about process and um, how to how to plan and implement these types of school-wide activities. So I'm gonna to talk a little bit about those things. Our coordinator is a 6th grade teacher. I'm gonna let Shara introduce herself as well. I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see her.
Hi, I'm Shara Kaladny, 6th grade teacher. So what we learned from students, we did a survey after to see what was the impact of the lesson and was it what we intended. You can see on there, those are the major themes. So the kids all submitted their ideas about what their takeaways were, what they thought was important, next steps, why we did this activity. And overwhelmingly, the biggest response was that students thought that we should be kind and be respectful and be more understanding. They also saw the value of what happens when we make assumptions about each other. So you can read through that, and I'm just going to read you the summary of the feedback. With students overwhelmingly committed to being more inclusive, not making assumptions, speaking to new people, and showing kindness and respect. Many suggested concrete school-wide actions. They liked the mixed grade events, identity learning, posters, assemblies, clubs, and safer ways to share personal identity. Gosh darn it, I have to put my reading glasses on, pardon me. A significant number also addressed the current concerns like the bias incidents, including the swastika and the anti-Semitic symbols, and emphasized that listening, belonging, and treating everyone equally would help combat some of that. Can we go to the next one? So again, we surveyed the staff and the students after the activity to find out what worked, what didn't, because there was a lot of new stuff we did, including the mixed grade groups and having the kids go to new teachers. It was an extended connect period. We had the 8th graders leading the conversation. There were small groups within the big groups. So it was a lot of new stuff, and we wanted to see what landed well and what didn't. So the multi-grade groups were generally well received, but the work around that would be more icebreakers, get to know you activities before we just started in with these difficult conversations. So what we learned was it worked, and we need to do a little more refining the next time we do a mixed grade activity. Let's see what else. Yeah, the staff wanted a little bit more planning time in the meeting. The kids ran through the lesson for the staff, but then the staff was saying they would have liked a few minutes just to sort of digest the material on their own before they went and presented it, because it does make you vulnerable. It is stuff you need to think about and prepare for. So I guess those were the biggest takeaways from the feedback from the staff and from the students. And next time we'll incorporate that into the planning. And I think Jason's going to tell you about the next activity.
Yep. So we actually have a meeting in about a half hour to begin to plan for activity 2. That's coming in after winter break in February. And we have 2 teams sort of working on this. We have a steering committee that's going to do some of the big overall thinking about this. And then because we had a lot of students that were interested in participating in this work, we have an activity 2 planning committee that's actually going to do some of the nuts and bolts planning of this as well. So we've learned a lot from it, and it is just the implementation of this is a process, but overall it's working well. We're excited about where we're headed. So that is our presentation. If anyone
you.
has any questions for us.
Thanks, Jason. I will say that Erica, Jason, and I visited many classrooms during that first activity. And I know Shara mentioned that, there's a level of vulnerability, and there definitely was a little bit of transition or some wait time and some silence when a lot of the questions were posed. But I have to say that once a student was confident and started engaging in conversations about themselves and where they felt below that iceberg, there was an energy that started in the rooms with the kids, and I think they really valued that they got to learn something new about the kids that they don't always get to talk with, because as one of the students mentioned, it was the groupings I thought was really valuable also, right? They were with students that they don't normally get to be engaging and having conversations with maybe throughout the day because of the schedule. And so I really like that you guys really thought intentionally about grouping kids and how to group kids so that they were able to talk with maybe students that they don't normally get to talk with. So great job. Any questions for Jason and his
No,
team?
I just want to add to what you were saying, Tina. I really liked that the students were involved in the planning and the choice process, and I think that was really important, and I like to see that, especially presenting to the teachers. I think that added a lot to the topic. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's
I
it
thought it
was
was a
great.
success for the first activity. Jason, I think we spoke about a little bit after, like we're always learning and evolving and every with something new that we do, but I think overall it was a really great success, and it was a great first activity to set the stage as they continue to grow and build a stronger climate as a school. So well done. Kudos.
Thank you.
I have a few things to say. I thank you for this presentation. Thank you to Mr. Bluestein's guests in his office for sharing. That was great, and I love this iceberg that Leo created. This type of activity is really, really important. I hope that students benefited from it. Um, I know that this came out. I have like a lot of questions. I have a lot of comments. Like I know that this came out or this originated because of certain behaviors on in school last year, but this really is really universal for all students in the school district. And I really hope that this can be practiced and employed in WIS as well. Especially, I've gone to a lot of PTO meetings so far where Principal D'Amico is talking all about how WIS students are learning to treat each other well, look out for each other, and this is just so on point, applicable, and relevant to everything she's trying to teach those students. Same thing with children in the high school. If we want children and students to become everything that, everything that Erica talks about in the mission and the vision and what makes Weston so special, it's doing exercises and activities like this so that people can be more mindful, thoughtful, considerate of peers other than themselves and their friend group. So I really, really hope that this gets employed beyond just the middle school, because it does not just apply to middle schoolers. These are lessons and values that children need to learn from a very young age. I think also that so I've done a lot of work like this in my professional life, and it's great, and I love it. And you do the exercise and the activity, and you just feel energized coming out of it. But then you just go back to your regular routine and it kind of just goes, it just goes to the back, and it just becomes, it's not so relevant. So I think that it needs to be continued to be relevant. You need to continue practicing and reinforcing this type of sharing and thinking about yourself and others. And I know you're planning another activity two, and I'm looking forward to hearing what that's about. But I actually think you need to be repeating these types of activity one. Remember all these things, just reinforce everything you learned from activity one so that students don't just have this positive experience back in the fall and then they just forget about it, because these are just ways you need to be thinking about others all the time. And then another thing. So I know you said that students liked multi-grade groupings, which I'm actually kind of surprised to hear, but all students are different. So for me as a student, I would not have liked a multi-grade grouping. I would have felt uncomfortable to share. I would have felt intimidated by the older students, and I would have felt like I just didn't necessarily know these people and I wasn't necessarily interacting and coming into contact again. And these are not the people I'm interacting with on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not criticizing multi-grade groupings, because if people liked it, then you should consider it. But I think going back to how I said that this should continue to be reinforced throughout the school year, I think you should try it in different ways because it impacts students differently and students engage in different formats and dynamics. So I think maybe another time you try something where students are in the same grade, or maybe, or, just different approaches are effective for different people. So I think my key things is this should be reinforced a lot. And it really needs to be beyond just the middle school, because I think exercises like these are so great and are such a critical part of being a good, kind, thoughtful, inclusive citizen.
Yeah, all great points, Nicole, and I think we agree with all of them. And I know that it's really helpful to always get feedback from the community and from different perspectives. And I think that's why Jason's doing a really good job to look at his team to include students and teachers so that they can also make decisions based on where where their school is at that point in time. So yeah, thank you for that feedback. I know that's why I think the teachers and the students all had an opportunity to give feedback on how that first experience went and how they can learn from the first round and how they can make adjustments. Jason, did you want to add something?
Yeah, no, we appreciate the feedback. We were just taking some notes and as we were listening. I mean, I think it's all part of the process of planning this. I don't think every student loved multi-grade, but a lot did. And we were, it was something we wanted to try. We've talked about maybe only doing seventh and eighth graders or sixth and seventh, or we might do an individual grade, just individual grades one. But our goal was we really do want kids feeling like they're part of something bigger, and bigger being the school, not just they have opportunities, like they have they have like team community meetings. They have opportunities to feel like they're part of their team. They have Connect, which is also done by grade level. So they have those opportunities, but we felt like for this we wanted to give it a try and see and just get them, like the unit is the school, not just
Sure.
their grade level or their class. So we thought a little bit about that. And I think our biggest thing was we just learned that, like, the feedback we got was if we had done a little bit more community building kind of things, there were certainly classrooms where the kids had a lot to say, and there were other classrooms that were a little bit quieter, but I think we would have equalized that a little bit more. And that's just part of our own learning. The other thing I would say too is about the in-between work. Yeah, so they gave us a lot of suggestions actually on what we should do in between. And I think as we plan today and we start thinking about not only what are we doing on the 24th, but what are we doing between now and the 24th? Our goal is to try to take some of those ideas and implement them. So yeah.
Excellent.
I
Great.
do
Thank
have
you.
one quick question, Tina, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
So Jason, Shara, as board members, we always need a metric, right? We need something to measure some outcome or advancement. And my question is for Leo and Abby, and you don't have to have an answer to that. Maybe the metric we're seeking is how's the kindness scale? Are people more kind, right? And I don't know how you measure that, but that's an interesting exercise because it's like the first day at Hurlbut, right? When you were told to be kind. So that's
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, I think one of our quick response, just to remind everyone, especially for those that may be new to our work here in Weston, our climate surveys is how we have been using our data to kind of see how people feel and the relationships, the variety of relationships that we know is grounded in school climate and a sense of belonging. So that's one metric that we started last year through using, not just last year, but we have been using climate surveys for many years. And last year was a first year that we used the Panorama survey that we will use again in the spring this year. So that's one metric. I know there's potentially many more, especially with qualitative surveys that we can capture some impressions and some comments from the field on the student level or the teacher perspective also. That's also a metric. Not so easy to quantify, but at least it gives us some real kind of perceptions on how people are feeling and how the experiences went over the year. So that's something that the team, Jason, his team can consider as another opportunity to kind of show how the climate is evolving and how things are improving in that area. When he presents the next time, it gives us the next update. So I want to thank you guys. We do have 2 more items on the agenda. I want to be mindful of the time. I know that you guys also at the middle school have a meeting coming up. So just want to thank you for taking the time and for bringing the team with you to kind of give us an update. So great job. All right, so we have Shauna Johnson with us. I'm going to move on to the next curriculum update, which is our curriculum and instruction leader for 612 Social Studies. Shauna coordinates the Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is coming up on January 27th. And I asked her to come to give the curriculum subcommittee an update on the plans for that day and what the students will be experiencing on the 27th. So Shauna.
Good morning. So Tina's going to present a slideshow in just a second. This is the fourth year that we're going to do the Holocaust Remembrance Day. No, third year. Sorry about that. And we initially had it as a sign up for the assemblies, and we took the feedback from the students and from the board, and we are now doing it as an assembly schedule. So every child has the opportunity to come to the auditorium and hear the same speaker and get the same experience for International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And myself and the advisors for the JSU and the students in the JSU and administration are all working together on this programming for the middle school and the high school. So this year we are going to have a speaker, Annie Bystrom, who is going to talk about her father's experience hiding in plain sight in France. And she has spoken on numerous occasions in many different schools, many different grade levels. She's spoken with kids in Darien about his experience. And so she's a good public speaker for us to bring in and have and share his experiences with the kids. We also are bringing back Andy, who is a Holocaust survivor himself, and he has come for a number of years to Weston High School. And while every child is going to hear Annie, we are going to do a sign up for Annie. Every child is going to hear her, but Andy, it is going to be a sign up, and kids are going to have the opportunity to hear him speak. However, because he is in the library and it's a smaller space, we want to try to limit the number of kids. And we also know that some kids have some requirements on their schedule that they just won't be able to miss. They may have a test, or they may need to be in a lab for class, but every child is going to have an experience for Holocaust Remembrance Day. At the middle school, the same programming is going to happen. Prior to the 27th, every child is going to get a lesson within their social studies classroom so that they have context and an understanding of what it is that they're going to be going to and listening to on the 27th. And then by the grade level, we have different programs that are grade appropriate for each cohort. So in 6th grade, we're going to have a speaker, and she's going to talk about her grandfather's experience as a Holocaust survivor. And then we have a rabbi coming in from the community who's going to talk to our 7th graders. He's going to focus on symbols and the bar and bat mitzvah process and kind of like all encompassing, and because 7th grade is such a big year for that as well. And then in 8th grade, we have our JSU coming down to do a presentation for the kids. And it's a good opportunity also for the kids to see what the JSU does and how they can be involved with it when they come up to the high school. The second thing that I'm going to be talking about is the Anne Frank traveling exhibit. This is an amazing opportunity that we got. Jennifer Klein, who's a teacher up here at the high school, she went to a PD over the summer, and she actually was able to walk through this and share this with all of us. And we kind of jumped on the opportunity to host it. The PTO graciously at the middle school and the high school is funding this. So we are going to have an exhibit, an exhibition of Anne Frank. There are going to be 32 freestanding panels that people, students, and community members can come through and walk and observe and see Anne Frank and her family and kind of get like the history and this personal perspective together. We have 20 of our high school students who are going to be the docents for this. The program actually comes and trains our kids over the course of 2 days. So they'll come in, they'll set up the panels, they'll train our students, they'll share with them how you talk about hard topics, how you address concerns or comments, how you would lead a group through and at those different grade levels. And this is going to be available for our middle school and our high school. So every child is going to have a tour through this traveling exhibit, and we're going to create a special schedule for that. We're going to work with the middle school teams and the high school teams in order to do that. And then we always look for ways to enhance the curriculum and to bring in that like real world experience and like newer things to just elevate what we currently have. And so we have submitted a WEF grant in order to do a whole school book. And so the picture that you see on the top right, When We Flew Away, is a historical fiction novel. It's a beautifully written book. Both Amy Holmes, who is the English Sil, and myself have read it. And we think it's going to be a really great companion to our middle school students to really give them a greater context and understanding for them prior to coming to the exhibit. And the book itself kind of talks about her life prior to going into hiding. There's at the very end, it's a little bit about her going into hiding, but it also addresses some emotions that she has and some historical things that are happening at the time. So it opens up an avenue for a lot of really good conversations, and especially tying to that No Place for Hate and kind of elevating all of the work that the middle school is already doing. There is a video there for time purposes. We won't be able to play it, but it is linked in the slideshow, so you'll be able to watch it. It's actually a student's experience. It's the program itself and then her experience as a docent and then what she gained as an individual from that experience. And then there's an example there at the bottom of what a panel would look like.
This is amazing. Thank you, Shauna.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, we're going to have a community night on May 13th. So our kids
Yes,
will be the
so-
docents and everybody is invited to come.
Great. So I think after that too, we'll be able to give an update and to see how things went and maybe add some pictures and context around the experience. This is new for us this year, and we're really grateful that Jennifer Klein helped coordinate this and get this moving, and we were able to get support from the PTO because this was something that came up after budget requests came in. So, and then also just thinking ahead about always, as Shauna mentioned, we're always looking for ways to enhance the experience and the curriculum for our students, and how do we integrate more texts that are developmentally appropriate. We're exploring that book, When We Flew Away, that Amy found, to potentially enhance and specific units of study and even bring that text down to lower grades, as low as even fifth grade. Shauna mentioned that it's even developmentally appropriate for fifth graders too. So yeah, this is really exciting. And I think, thank you, Shauna, your team, Amy as well, if she's listening. The two departments have really been working collaboratively over the last 2 years, which is really exciting because it is, bringing the context of historical context into literacy and being able to see how these two work in tandem and hand in hand. So the departments have really been working closely together to enhance the curriculum and the experiences that students get all the way from sixth grade to high school. Thank you so much. It's great. So we'll do another update because we're short on time and we have an AI advisory committee. The actual presentation for today is that, and I want to make sure that we talk about a little bit of the updates for the AI advisory committee as well.
I just want to make one comment. I know we're
Sure.
short on time. This is like really great programming. I'm speaking as a Jewish person who has had a lot of Jewish education and religious education, and similar to my last comment about the No Place for Hate, there are age-appropriate ways to honor Holocaust Remembrance Day in WIS as well, and I hope that you would consider doing that.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, we're going to move on to the AI Advisory Committee agenda. This is the last topic for the agenda today. I'm joined by Dan DeVito. He's our director of IT in the district, and he and I have been kind of leading the charge around the AI Advisory Committee work throughout the district since we have adopted our policy back in 2024, I believe it was. So Dan, you're here, right? Do I see you on the screen?
I'm here.
Great. So first I just want to say it's really been exciting to work with Dan, because it is nice when we have projects that we can work across departments, very similar to what I mentioned with Shauna and Amy, because, you know, we all bring different experiences and expertise into the room, and it's really nice when we start working across department lines, because it really allows us to go deeper in our work, and you know, the outcome is always of higher quality, in my opinion. So we're going to go through a couple slides and then we'll open up for questions at the end. I'm excited that if Nick Torres is still here, he is also, yeah, he is, there he is. He's also on our AI Advisory Committee as well, so he can chime in and add, and so is Shauna, to add in any additional information that maybe we missed. So we wanted to provide a update on our progress that we've made and the structures we put into place, and how we are thoughtfully approaching artificial intelligence in ways that align to our instructional values and vision in the district. We want to make sure that we are very intentional when we are adopting policy, adopting tools, and we are thinking about all of the aspects that AI impacts, or whether that be for teachers, for students, also privacy policy, and that's why Dan is so integral as well, and his team in helping us make some of those decisions as well. So our goal today is just to provide some transparency around our work and what the AI Advisory Committee has been doing, and how it connects to curriculum instruction. We're going to review policy, guidelines, literacy efforts, PD, professional development, and the tools that we are currently reviewing and taking into consideration as we move into the budget season and think ahead beyond for our teachers and our students. So AI, artificial intelligence, as you know, has been a hot topic, but more than that, it's really been influencing how students and educators access information, how teachers plan, give feedback, and assess learning. And as a district, we know that this is our responsibility to protect privacy, to maintain academic integrity, to ensure developmentally appropriate use for these tools and where they fit into our curriculum and our instructional planning. And it's how we want to make sure that we are making decisions in Weston so that we're proactive, that our decisions are values driven, that we're ensuring innovation supports and not just undermining or replacing any of the aspects of teaching and learning that we hold so valuable to us. So the AI Advisory Committee, what's the purpose of this committee? So when we originally started this work, there was a lot of conversation around policy, and Connecticut Association of Schools kind of drafted a kind of an outline. I hope nobody's listening from CAS, but it was really not like an official policy. It was just an outline of like recommendations. And so when, you know, Dan and I kind of got together, we were like, we need to really look at this a little more intensely. We need to get some administrators and teachers involved, because this isn't even it isn't really a policy, not the way that we write policy. So we decided that we wanted to really sink our teeth into some of what was already published out in the field, and we wanted to study the opportunities when it came to policy development, the guidance that we had been receiving, and what we wanted to convey and what narrative we wanted to start distributing out to our families, our teachers, and our students. And then we also wanted to do our due diligence in reviewing some AI tools, right? This is evolving so quickly. We were trying to make sure that we were ahead of the game. And so we've really felt it was our responsibility and the committee's responsibility to stay abreast and ahead of the game when it came to reviewing the AI, the tools, and which were the most high quality, but also aligned to some of the requirements when it came to privacy. And so that was the charge too. So who is on the AI advisory committee? So we wanted to kind of give you a brief overview. This is a pretty robust committee. It has representatives from the teaching field. We have library media specialists and classroom teachers. We also have administrators. We also have representatives from Dan's team, the IT department as well. And we really are excited that we have student representatives that have some experience or passion in this field of artificial intelligence. They use it regularly, and they have some really robust opinions and perspectives. And so this is our AI advisory committee that we really are excited that around the diversity, and that we've done a really good job elevating the voice throughout the district through this committee.
And I did also want to add in, Tina, as well. I want to point out that the committee, not every single person is actually gung-ho about AI. We have a lot of people who are critical of it, so we're getting multiple opinions from different standpoints. So I didn't want everyone to think that we're all like, yay, full throttle AI. There's a lot of us like, pause, why are we doing this? So it's a very thoughtful committee.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, and that has provided some really robust conversations and multiple perspectives because, as you know, like all of our teachers also are front facing with parents too. And so a lot of that perspective and those scenarios have been coming into the conversation too. So we're really thankful for that. Good point, Dan. Okay. So where are we? So brief update. The board adopted the official AI policy back in June of 2024. We established district-wide expectations for ethical and responsible AI use. Most importantly, that policy aligns with existing policies around academic honesty and integrity, instructional materials, and student privacy. So we made sure that the language and the guidelines that we set forth in that policy when it was adopted, it also connected and was aligned to the other policies that it influences. It provides clarity while allowing flexibility as the technology continues to evolve. We needed to make sure that when we wrote that policy, it allowed us some flexibility to continue to evolve without having going back to policy to make updates. Because as those of you that have been on policy committees before, it does take some time to get things approved. So we made sure that language was in there as well. So I wanted to give you an update. So then what? So after the policy was developed, we know that we also had some administrative regulations. So this is the outline of the policy on the left-hand side and the administrative regulations that was developed as a result of the policy. It is policy and regulation number 6187. Anyone can go look it up. And that is what we've been grounding the AI advisory committee against as we start building more resources and support and how we're making decisions when it comes to adopting AI tools. So we always kind of come back to that policy and those regulations as well. So let's see. So then so the policy was adopted, we established our AI advisory committee, which is defined in the policy. And when Dan and I gathered this group together, we started to brainstorm and outline what it is we wanted to, what was our first step in our work. And we recognized that we first needed to have a vision and some guiding principles for educators and some guiding principles for students that were developmentally appropriate. So we didn't just start writing. We actually, many of us on the committee since June of 24 have been going out to different conferences. We've been networking with our with colleagues, not only in Connecticut, but even across different states. We are a member of the Tri-State Committee. Tri-State is representatives from New York and Connecticut and Massachusetts, I think. I can't remember that third state. But we have an AI, Tri-State AI committee. I think Jason Bluestein has been coming, and Dan is a member of that group too. So our library media specialists, we've sent out to CAS, we've sent out to CES, we've sent teachers out to training as well. So before we develop these guiding principles, we have been doing a lot of research, like where is everybody else in this language and this narrative around what we value and what we want to integrate into the classroom experience for teachers and for students. So that took us a good number of months, right, Dan? I mean, we spent a lot of time really doing our research, and before we started to put the pen to paper and start designing some of these guidelines for educators and for students. We then got feedback from the field. We sent out these guidelines to all of our teachers throughout the district. We gathered some feedback from them. You know, how does this language make you feel? How are you using AI in the classroom? And how do these guidelines align to those aspects of integration in the classroom? So that really allowed us some time to really build that relationship and personalize what we felt was important in Weston and position us to support thinking, not replace, not do any type of replacement, but more of an enhancement of what we currently, how we currently use AI in the classroom for curriculum, for planning, and for implementation, while still making sure that there's some clear boundaries around use, ethical use, and making sure that it's developmentally appropriate. Because you can see that right now our guiding principles are for students in grades 6 through 12, because that's primarily where we have tools that students are actually using some of the AI tools as well. Anything anyone want to add here? This was really a collaborative document and that the AA Advisory Committee developed.
Yep.
Nope. Can't see everybody, so no thumbs up. Keep moving. Okay. So here is the full document of the AI guiding principles for educators and for students. It's linked in your presentation if you would like to go through it a little bit further. And so then we started to actually think about how do we build the capacity of our educators, right? Because part of this is confidence. Dan mentioned before, right? We have some adults who are really embracing AI. They're using it to kind of enhance their efficiencies and their practices, and then some who are a little still nervous about using it, right? So how do we build this idea of AI literacy around confidence and around understanding how to appropriately use an AI tool in a variety of different ways? So we did a lot of work and we continue to do a lot of work. We're nowhere near done around AI literacy and providing some professional development to teachers that are voluntarily wanting to engage in that work. We have a course through Panorama that is being offered. And then also, how do we help support students in some of this ethical use with AI as well? We are continuously looking for additional ways to build that capacity with teachers. And so we do have a March 27th is our day for a full day professional development where teachers get to choose different sessions that they would like to participate in. The theme for March 27th is the future of schools, preparing our students, our classrooms, and ourselves for what's next. And some of the sessions that are being offered during that day have an AI focus. And so if teachers would like to sign up for some of those sessions that are being offered, we're in the process of developing that as we speak. So again, this is just another slide talking about professional learning. So the next biggest thing that is on our docket right now for our AI Advisory Committee, and I mentioned about our task to be at the forefront of research and doing our due diligence with all these tools that are out there. We've been intensely and intentionally exploring a variety of tools that are currently in the educational market. We want to take our time and do our due diligence when it comes to evaluating these resources, asking a lot of good questions. This is the summary of the 3 The first three are the ones that we've actually taken some time to do presentations on with the AI Advisory Committee, and we are scheduling a fourth one as well. Dan, do you want to talk anything about these at all? And this is a very text heavy slide, but we wanted to give an overview of, you know, why we chose these tools, what's the primary purpose of some of them, who they would serve, and then just a summary of where we are with that. Nothing has been approved yet.
Yeah, so these are the four major products out there right now that are school-related AI products. And with each passing month, more is added to the products. And these are the four at the top right now. And we've been very deliberate in our investigation of these products. There are free versions of the products, so most of the teachers and most of the people who are in the committee were already aware of these products in some way, shape, or form. So now we're just trying to find what exactly is the best fit for us, if there is a best fit for us moving forward.
Yeah, and as you can see, the tools do different things. I think that's one of our constant
Yeah.
the reflective part. Like when we make a decision, we want to be very mindful of you know, the return on investment, right? When you think about your roles as board members, you want to make sure that when we are making decisions on instructional tools, we are looking to get the biggest bang for our buck, right? And so that is something that we're looking and taking into consideration, because it may not be one tool. I think what we're finding is it may not be one tool that meets all of our needs in a variety of different ways. So all of these are still under consideration. The AI Advisory Committee has not finalized which one to adopt and go into you know, budget requests at this time. But we do know that we're at a good point. We really feel confident that we have a strong foundation in place when it comes to policy, guidelines, professional development. And again, our next steps, as I mentioned before, is to continue working on building the capacity of our teachers, continuing to have conversations around what is AI for our public, for our parents, and how we're using it ethically and with integrity in the classrooms, from a teacher perspective and from a student perspective. We're always looking to get some more feedback. And that's why we're presenting it all to you today. So some, you know, food for thought. And as you're out in the community and having conversations, we hope that you will help us with this narrative as well, and you know, send the message about how we're using AI in Weston and how we're using it across the district and in classrooms. And then as we move forward in the coming year, if we make some decisions or have a recommendation, this is where we would come back to. We would come back to you and say, hey, this is what the AI Advisory Committee has decided, and this is our recommendation, and here is why. And so it was important for us to tell you where we were after almost a year and a half of this work, because we have not done an update to you since the last time we adopted our policy. And there's been a lot of work that has been done with this committee since that time, and we're not done, right? It continues to evolve. Our work continues to grow and be ongoing. And we just wanted to make sure that you know that we are being thoughtful in our pacing when we're making decisions, that we are looking for different and multiple perspectives, not only from our teachers, but from our administrators, from our IT department, and from our students. And that is all leveraged through our AI Advisory Committee. So any questions? I know we're a little over. I apologize. It's 10:35, but I wanted to make sure we provided you with an update. This was an important presentation that we wanted to make sure that we spoke to you all about as we continue this work moving forward in the rest of the school year. Nicole?
Yeah, so this is great. It's thoughtful. It seems robust. And a lot of people are involved. I just want to highlight on one of your slides, it says the district responsibility is protect student data and privacy. I don't really know what that means. I have a feeling it means what I'm about to say. I am not an expert on privacy, but I just want to make sure that you are considering like FERPA considerations, use of student details in AI, especially free AI platforms. So I think that probably is what it means, what you're talking about. However, aside from that, outside of your AI policy, I'm sure you have a lot of staff and educators who are already using AI on their own, potentially with free platforms. So if there are FERPA considerations and confidentiality issues, it should really be very clearly communicated to everyone how they could be safely using AI with student information.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Dan's going to take the lead on that. And the answer is, in short, yes, but Dan's going to go into detail.
All great comments and questions, Nicole. So above FERPA, there's actually the Connecticut Student Privacy Law, Public Act 16-187 that went into effect, I think back in 2017, where all school districts have to enter into agreement with any product or company that has access to or holds student data. And it's a very specific agreement that basically says they will not use the data, what to do in the event of a data breach. They will not sell the data. They will not use it for marketing, all of that stuff. So it's actually even more constrictive than FERPA or even like COPPA or anything like that. So step number one is I have to be the bad guy, right? When it comes to like, number one, at the very top, we can only use products that are compliant with the Connecticut Student Privacy Act. And so, for instance, ChatGPT is not compliant with the Connecticut Student Privacy Act. Our version, so the other product that we currently have that's free with our Google licensing is Google Gemini, which is basically their version of ChatGPT. We entered into agreement with Google, and when I say we, it's not just Weston, it's the entire state of Connecticut, went into a specialized agreement with Google Gemini that it does comply with the Student Privacy Act. So for now, with any of the free products, we have told all staff and students, but specifically staff because it's not the students aren't really using it and we're blocking what's needed, to only use Gemini as the free version, as well as all four of these products, Magic School, School AI, Class Companion / Solara, and Brisk. They also comply with the Connecticut student privacy laws. So we have been disseminating that information to staff, either directly to staff as I've been having conversations with departments, or as well as with the people from the AI committee to then talk to their building staff as well to basically say, you cannot use ChatGPT at all. ChatGPT, especially, we have to be especially cognizant because the way AI works is they take the data that you input into it and it builds upon itself. So we cannot let that happen at all. No student data can be used to build it. So I'll go back to Gemini as an example. When a staff member or even a student at the high school logs into Gemini, it specifically says at the bottom of Gemini, only for our accounts, your data is not being used to provide feedback and build on the large language model. So we're very, very cognizant of all of this information, and we try to communicate this as much as possible. And as I get more information out there, as things change, because this is a ever-changing field, I then send information to staff. All staff email basically says, hey, this is a product. It is a free product. You are available to use it because it does comply with the Connecticut Student Privacy Law.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, because that's a lot, right? It's
Yeah.
a lot of information, and this is sometimes what makes people nervous,
Yeah.
right? And so part of our AI literacy professional development, the training and that foundational piece includes that academic integrity and the ethical use and that component of the training also that we just have to keep rinsing and repeating. It's like my favorite line, right? I mean, the more we just kind of rinse, repeat, then people build their confidence. They have a deeper understanding of these aspects of tools such as this and how it influences the larger scope beyond their profession as well. So thank you for that. And we probably should have called it out a little bit more in detail. So thank you for that.
And one of the things I did want to bring up before any other questions are the 4 products that we're looking at, they do provide students with AI in a very controlled environment. So it's not wide open for students. It is actually the teachers determine, they basically set up something called like a room, and then they could provision certain AI tools for students within that time frame. So one of the questions that we get a lot is, how do we know students aren't using AI to do everything? And when we invest in a product, if we invest in a product, it provides, again, in a very, very controlled environment to say, hey, this is only going to provide feedback. This isn't going to allow them to write a paper in AI. So I just wanted to make that very clear that we're, again, very purposeful with these products because we don't want to just open the floodgates for students. The conversation started with AI for teachers. It's now evolved into AI with teachers and students. And we know that the levels of access are going to be different based on whether they're a staff member or whether they're a student.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really helpful that our teachers that are on the committee, they have been testing, trying,
Yeah.
piloting, and kind of seeing how some of the functionality and the companies have been great, right?
Yes.
Giving us some opportunities to kind of try and test things out to truly see how things work so that the teachers are in control and they feel like they can manage the different functionality to use the tool ethically and appropriately. So
And all of these products were developed and created by educators themselves, which is one of the reasons why we gravitated towards them.
Yeah. Lisa, Peter, do you have anything, any question? We're kind of at the
I don't
end
have
here.
any questions. I appreciate the careful evaluations of the tools and the thoughtful process into which ones you're going to use. And I think it's really important. I mean, you drill down to that evaluation and it was very thoughtful, and evaluating the products is I guess what you're working on toward that end.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
And there is a pressure, there seems to be an overarching pressure in the all education around the world as to making a decision, and we cannot give in to that pressure to just find something because we have learned from other school districts' mistakes who kind of jumped feet first into a product and now they're kind of pulling back saying, I think we made a mistake. So we're being slow because we want to make sure that we're making the right choice long term.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
I
that.
have one question, two food for thought since that was opened up. So you don't have a make a decision by this date. It's open-ended.
Yes.
But you will make a decision eventually. And
Yes.
the decision comes with a cost. So you have to justify your expense.
Yes.
Or got it. We don't know when that's going to happen, but that's a to be determined.
Yeah,
Yes.
part of Dan and I's review, we kind of are the liaison between the AI Advisory Committee and the reps, right? And our job, Dan and I's job, is to kind of communicate between the feedback from the AI Advisory Committee, get quotes, ask questions, negotiate if possible, because they want, they want school district business, and I get that. And so part of this process too is down the road, I'm going to say this publicly. Dan knows what I'm going to say. Down the road, if you choose a tool that is high quality, multi-dimensional, right? It has a lot of capacity to it. The idea is that it could replace other instructional tools that we've had over the years, right? Tech is evolving. This is one of those evolutions. And with that in mind, in the back of our minds, right, that requires conversation, it requires training, and it really requires some good intentional decision making, because before we just say we're not using this product in order to get this product to offset the cost, let's say, we have to make sure that it really is going to do what we want it to do. And it really is meeting our needs. So that's part of this conversation too. We're well aware, as you all and we all move into the budget season. And we talk about, the return on investment. We talk about the balance of financial decision making. We know that part of that conversation in the instructional software aspect is, are there instructional tools that are redundant, that are not being used, that are low quality, that are not aligned to the curriculum? And if so, we always, clean house if that happens. But now we're at a point where we have higher level tools, potentially, that may allow us to adopt a new AI tool, which will now kind of, the word that I'm looking for is escaping me right now, but it will, it will take the place of some of the other instructional tools that we've had for many years that we continuously, renew, and the budget side. But we have to
And
be
that
very-
could be a multi-year step.
Yes.
That could be a multi-year approach. Because every time we log into these AI products, they've added a new feature. We're saying, hey, that feature is just like this product that we've owned for a few years now. Maybe down the road, maybe it doesn't fit the bill perfectly right now, but in a year from now, we think it will. So there's an initial investment, but the hope and the goal as part of this is that, over the next few years, we will begin seeing savings because we could potentially drop other software products that we subscribe to.
Yeah, and just to close that loop here, we've seen that already. The first iteration was after COVID,
Yeah.
right? We saw this massive explosion of tech tools when COVID happened. And then when we came back after COVID, we started realizing we didn't really need this tool anymore because it served a purpose at that time. But now we've moved away from it and we don't really, instruction looks different and we don't need this one anymore. And so we've dissolved or sunset, as we say, one of those instructional tools because we don't need it anymore. So every year, Dan and I do this with our CILs, with our teachers, with our admins. We always are reevaluating the instructional software every year, especially as we go into budget season, because we are very mindful, intentional, and fiscally responsible when it comes to making decisions around instructional tools, because we do know that they cost a lot of money.
So we don't have to open our checkbooks this time, but eventually we may. But it's interesting that AI is eating itself, which is always the way technology works, right? So my two food for thoughts to finish our meeting, because I'm cognizant of everyone's time, is college admissions officers are using AI to deconstruct essays to see if the essays were written against instructions using AI. It's quite interesting. And if they were, you're not being considered for admission to that college. So if you really want a carrot to put out there for high school juniors and seniors, you remind them that it still comes down to pencil and paper in your brain to get into college. So that's an interesting little carrot for them to use it wisely. And lastly, I got a really interesting phone call from Rivian yesterday. They make cars. They're making cars in the future. They're making humanoid robots. So when I see we're not going to offer a class in AI, I'm thinking it's not how to use the tool. The wiser move may be how a humanoid robot really works, because that's where the kids are competing with in the future. So just food for thought.
And that is something that is a long term. I agree with you, and sorry, Tina, if I'm stepping out of turn, but I think we have to really get this foundation laid first before, but I think that is an eventuality that we need to land on. So I agree with you on that 100%.
Thank you. And Lisa, that concludes our agenda for today. So I'm going to pass it back over to you. Thank you all.
Thank you. So who's going to move that we adjourn? Peter?
I move as so stated.
And Nicole?
Second.
Perfect. Well, see you next time. Thanks a lot. And
Everyone.
thanks for the great presentations.
Thank you all for hanging in there. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.